Hi everyone, and welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. In this episode, we're back off to Victoria with the guys and girls from the Vic Bream Classics to review the 2026 Megabass East Gippsland Bream Classic. Always a mouthful. Anyway, another cracking event with almost a runaway winner. So what I might do, I'm going to roll the intros, we'll go through the bite periods, and then we'll run through the divisions and then into the angler interviews. Here we go.
Welcome to the Lure Fishing Project, where Australia's best lure anglers share their tips and stories to help you catch more fish and have more fun on the water. Here's your host, Andrew D.
All right, it's another big episode, so let's jump straight in with the bite periods and what have you. We had 95 in the fish activity wheel for the Saturday. Minor bite period ran from 6:34 through to 8:04. With a major bite period at 11:01 through to 1:31. High tide was at 9:08 at 0.96, running down to a low tide at 2:34 at 0.41. On the Sunday, slightly lower in the fish activity wheel at 83. The minor bite period went from 7:35 through to 9:05, with a major bite period at 11:49 through to 2:19 p.m. High tide was at 9:49 at 0.89, running down to a low at 2:56, apparently, at 0.47. Let's run through the divisions for this one. So the Sunline best bag went to team Hummingbird, Sean Clancy and Jared Healy. They smacked a massive bag of 5.905 on the Sunday, which helped them jump 17 positions up the leaderboard to finish in fourth. You would think that that would take out the monster movers, but apparently not. Team Just Winging It, Chris and Jack Allwood, they weighed in a big bag of 5.185, moving them up 20 places to finish in 22nd position. The Shimano Junior Angler Prize went to Team Hurricanes Riley Whelan. They finished in ninth place. And last but not least, the Eco Gear Big Bream was a cracking fish at 1.81 kilos, which went to Team Spin and Align, Lex Forbes and Dean Morley. That must have been a cracking fish. All right, let's get into the angler interviews. Here we go. All right, so first up in third place, we have Team Millerods. They dropped their 5 fish on Saturday, weighing 4.955, backing it up on the Sunday with 5 fish for 4.485, giving them a total weight of 9.44. And third place, I have Alex and Paul. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Great to be back.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, good to see you guys back on early in the season. I think what's this, round 2?
Yeah, round 2. I couldn't make it to round 1 due to family issues, so yeah, Dad fished with Alex Bay in round 1, and then this is our first round together for 2026, which was nice.
Yeah, very, very good. And standing on the podium nonetheless.
Yeah, very pleasing. After sitting in 8th after day 1, it was great to come back on a tough day too.
Yeah, very cool. All right, let's roll straight into it. Tell us a bit about pre-fish. How did you guys go? Did you crack any patterns or work anything out?
The goal of pre-fish when we first looked at it was to try and get into Kringle, but a reminder from a good friend Declan was the tide times that you see is obviously for the mouth, and that Kringle lake itself is definitely a couple of hours later. And so the plan was quickly changed last minute to start off in our usual, and we just hit up the Snowy. We hit up the junction, hit the Snowy rock walls, and then started to make our way down. We got a couple of fish in the Snowy, one little one in the junction underneath some mullet or some salmon, and then one off the rock wall, both on the Daiwa 235 prawn in bloodworm colour, just really lightly weighted. So they're like 1/16th or 1/20th on 3 pounds. So that was kind of my goal. I know even, listening to a lot of the podcasts from Marlo over the years, the bloodworm colour just stands out. So in my head, I really went for every variant of bloodworm that I could essentially find, as long as the water conditions allowed for it. That was going to be my starting position, was prawn and bloodworm, paddle tails, wrigglers, that kind of thing. There's a ton of salmon in that Snowy region, and those fish that we've previously seen the last couple of years just weren't there. So the Snowy wasn't a great option for us. Kept hopping our way downstream. We fished a lot of man-made laydowns on practice day as well, but only pulled 1 fish off one of those. So we could see them on active, or saw fish on active target, but we don't know if they were all brim, if there was perch, or if there was luteric sitting on those laydowns as well, which they often do. So we kind of thought we'll give it a try and we'll talk about it on the day one, I guess, comp. But we made our way down, just continued to fish laydowns, drop-offs, deep holes, flats, deep flats. And we caught a fish here, a fish there, but nothing really consistent. We got a couple of fish either side of the first island and between the first island and the ramp. There was a good congregation of fish there, and there's a lot of boats through there, but trying to find, I guess, those better fish with active target really helped. We worked out a couple of lures using the wave minnow and 2.5-inch paddle tail minnow from Dyer as well. And that was actually one that I definitely took away from this show over the years. Not one that gets much of a run, but it's that watermelon AU colour in that Dyer paddle tail on a heavy head and just kind of grubbing it and creeping it across the bottom. So that's been really good on practice. And then we kept just going into the slips, had a look around there. So that's been a popular spot, obviously, in recent times, and worked our way down towards the mouth, towards the ocean, where we caught one or two more fish down there. So it was a pretty varied pre-fish. We tried all kinds of depths, a number of different areas. Used a lot of side scanning as well to try and identify those schools and just mark them and turn back around and use active target and live imaging to kind of pinpoint those fish and see if we can get them to eat. But at the end of pre-fish, we really just looked at one another and said, I think the better fish and the better bites that we got were from the second island down towards the ocean mouth. And with a relatively mid to late starting order on day one, kind of went, well, we're going to see where everyone else ends up and what's available. And we kind of got an idea of where we wanted to start. And we said, well, that's what we'll do. We'll start down here. We won't go and do the snowy.
Okay. Yeah, so a bit of a different run for you guys. Tell me, are you running the AT2 or have you moved to the new one yet?
No, just AT2.
Yeah.
AT2 with the software updates. There's some recent updates as well. So I've made all those for the head units and for active target as well.
Yeah, nice. All right. Let's roll straight into comp day. Tell us about your day. What was your plan then?
Yeah, so as I said, we really just kind of waited, and I think we were off 28th-ish, and really just had to keep an eye out for how many boats went upstream. There was a couple of flats and deep drop-offs that we wanted to check out early on day one, and we started opposite the first island on the right-hand side near one of those creeks. As we were coming down to the ramp, as we launched at the Brodie, we kind of side scanned through that area and noticed quite a few fish in the morning. And so we decided if we can find a spot through there, that's where we'll start. We probably gave that half an hour to 40 minutes and didn't get a bite, and then moved across to the other side over to the shallow areas right around First Island towards the tip of it, where there's a number of man-made laydowns right in shallow. And we kind of did a two-pronged approach of casting wider onto that gradually sloping flat and up onto the man-made laydowns. So couldn't get a bite off the laydowns, but we did manage our first fish on the flat there with a 2.5-inch watermelon AU minnow on a heavy head and just kind of grubbing it and twitching it across the bottom. And one little one of about 600 grams jumped on board. So it's good to get the day started.
Yeah, very, very good. Had you cut back in a couple more. So that's a tough start.
That's a tough start. So that was about 8 a.m. and we had one on board. But at the same time, we weren't feeling too nervous about it. I think it felt like one of those days where you just had to chip away. And that's really what it was. It was, you find your windows, you get those little patches, you get one or two relatively quickly, and it quickly it adds up. But we didn't venture too far from there. We kind of went around the corner of that first island and just fished some of the drop-offs and the rock wall side opposite the first island. And I think we picked up 2 or 3 fish probably in the next hour there, just on a combination again. As we spoke before the show, our first 6 fish on Saturday came on 6 different lures. So I can't remember the exact order, but it was essentially that 2.5-inch paddle tail. It would have been like a wave minnow, a 235 prawn from Dyer again in that bloodworm colour, maybe a clone prawn. I think Dad would have got one on a wave minnow in opening night, I was using bloodworm, he was using opening night. And I don't think he threw the squidgy wriggler on day one, but definitely got fish on it on day two in the bio tough. It just seemed like the fish was sitting off the edge. But could definitely see some fish, some life, some activity on that perfect slope where you'd expect them to be, kind of at the bottom of that rocky edge before it meets the sand. There's fish there, but we just could not get bit at all. We threw crabs a lot on day two along that wall, threw a variety of different plastics and just could not get a bite. But
I was going to say, did we see the seal?
No, did not see the seal actually. No.
That's usually the seal comes into play at some point.
No, he stayed away from us. Maybe it was down towards the mouth or in French's, not sure. But look, from there, I think we had 4 maybe, and I think our 5th one came off a man-made laydown. So we then, that area where it was all drop-offs and flats around that first island went quiet. I think we're on 4 fish, and then we went and hit man-made laydowns, and the current was ripping over them, and it seemed pretty perfect for it.
Okay, so you got your first 4 in the bag. Tell us how you went about getting a couple more.
Yeah, so that bite really just slowed down on us, and we decided to try and replicate the bite from on that practice day where we got 1 good fish off a man-made laydown. And in that general area where we were, there's a lot of laydown options, and we really just bounced across back to that first island, whereas this side of the island is a lot deeper. It's got a lot more flow compared to the other side where we started, where it was a lot shallower. And I think we're about 6 or 7 laydowns in, seeing plenty of fish on active around them. But like on practice day, the bite was just really tough. And there was one laydown, I'd pretty much finished fishing it. The current was ripping, and I started winding that weedless plastic back in and got crunched. And that was like a 940 gram fish, just chasing that prawn back up through the water column and just crunched it.
And was that like you're ripping it back?
Not ripping, but I'd started, and then it just loaded up essentially. So I could track my lure on active. I could see it bouncing like way down that trunk, near the poles, between the poles. There's fish there, and they're just not chewing. You're giving it a rip in their faces. They're not chewing, they're not reacting to it, but then one randomly just decides that prawn is mine. So so that rounded out our 5.
Yeah, okay. All right. And was that it for the day? Did you get a few more?
We spent a lot of time hitting more laydowns. We wasted probably a good hour and a half to 2 hours. We came back to that general area around the first island, around the flats and the drop-offs, and we might have got couple of small upgrades, but essentially the big point of day 1 really happened at 150. So Dad got a late bite. Yeah. So we've actually, I looked at the footage and I've got like team Alan, and I got Sean Clancy and Jared coming back into weigh-in, and Dad's hooked up as they're roaring past, and we kicked out like a 600 grammer for like a 1.2 at 150 PM. On that wave minnow again, and that really saved the day. That really could have been that 4.2 kilo bag instead of almost a 5 kilo bag. So that was a really critical upgrade for us.
That's right. So you would have been 8th to like 18th or something like that.
Correct.
Without that fish. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
There you go. All right. And what I'm taking from day 1 is, mate, there was no real pattern in terms of what lure.
No pattern. We kept picking up different rods. We feel like the fish were moving through that area, but still we just could not pick a consistent pattern where we'd say it's like a 1-2 approach, 1-2 punch. There was none of that. We had to just keep cycling through different bloodworm profiles, through grubs, through grub tails, curl tails, paddle tails, prawn variations. We'd have to rest areas and come back to it and just let it kind of reload, give it a little rest. And that we found that helped kind of generate the bites and get additional bites when we'd come back again.
Yeah.
But the bite window, Andrew, was interesting to know. It's a couple of minutes. So we could have, had bang, bang, and then nothing for 40 minutes or an hour, completely nothing. You see the fish, they're not biting. They're just sitting there or moving, but not biting.
Yeah, wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's very true, and probably really visible on day 2, as in, that was really evident.
That's interesting. So I guess in hindsight, maybe as a team, if one person catches a fish, the other person's got to be back in the water. Make sure you try and capitalize.
For sure. I think we even said that a couple of times, or we'd both cast 2 patches of fish that we'd see on active to try and maybe get a double hookup or give someone the best chance of getting a bite from one of those bigger fish that we see that we actively try and target.
Mm.
Yeah, and we didn't want to leave the fish because we knew the fish are either there or they are transitioning through it.
Sure.
And that's what happened at tempt 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, with our largest upgrade.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right. You ended up, I think you said, your 8th place overnight. What was your talk the Saturday night? What were you thinking you're going to do Sunday?
Probably more of the same. I think the goal was to start around the deeper side, around the first island, where we got the majority of the bites and where Dad got that kicker late on day 1. That just seemed to hold the most opportunities for us, but also had less boats than some of the other areas that we found as well. So we kind of had it to ourselves for the most part. There's 1 or 2 boats that would come in, they do a bit of a drift, but overall it wasn't hit as hard as some of the other areas where it was kind of dodging boats happening between the ramp and the ocean mouth. There was 30 boats through there for most of the weekend.
Wow.
See, Andrew, for example, if I was using Z-Man grub in bloodworm, 2.5 inch, I never for 3 days had a sniff on it. And if people, let's say, parked near us and tried, for example, similar lure and they didn't get bites, they left because they thought, oh, they're not biting. But we were catching them on different lure.
Yeah.
So that's why we stayed, because we knew we can try something else.
Yeah. Just cycle. All right. How'd you go about getting into them?
I think on day 2, we got one relatively quickly, like in the first 30 minutes, I would say, Dad. And then I think we kind of turned around. We just couldn't get another bite. I think that first one might have come on a Daiwa 235 prawn again and bloodworm. And we went along that rock wall. That was also that day we said, hey, there's fish here in the deep. There's fish up on this flat. But no one's hit this rock wall. Like, let's just give it a go. And we drifted 3/4 of it. I hit it hard with a crab or a plastic. And we said to Dad, you go and just fish that wider drop. You try and cast 5 to 8 meters off the wall. And he's also fanning cast out into the deep, but then there's that risk of salmon through there too. And I could not get bit on the wall, but then Dad got a really nice fish, probably around that kilo mark, 900 to 1 kilo, just on a wave minnow again, out in the deep. So we had 2 at that point.
Mm.
Then we moved back up to that primary area where we've got this bit of a drop off and a flat kind of area. And we just persisted there again, probably for the next couple of hours, to be honest. But one thing that we did do, and we picked up a fish here and a fish there, but it was pretty tough. And then we got a bite window. But what we also did was we moved up and fished some fresh water or some clean water that we hadn't touched. We just expanded on our area. So we didn't go too far. We moved a couple of 100 meters and just fished something a little bit different. Probably fished a little bit shallower than we had been fishing. But because of all that flow through there and the various, I guess, gradual slopes and dips and drops and rises, it really set up well for fish to be sitting there into the current as great ambush points. So just changed the lures again, just went to a clone prawn, a little bit more lightly weighted as it was shallower, and got a couple of crucial bites through there. One thing I will note, both Dad and I did lose 1 critical fish each. So Dad hooked up, I think, on a bloodworm wriggler, perhaps, bio-tough, and the hook pulled. I had the net in the water, and the hook pulled on the last lunge.
Oh.
And we had 5, and I picked out a school of fish. There's 4 or 5 big blobs on active, threw a clone prawn out to them, a couple of hops, and just conk, 8 good fish. Did the same thing, screamed off, went around the boat. Dad had the net in the water. Last lunge.
Net in the water.
Hook pulled out.
Yeah.
So we both lost kilo fish on day 2. and we still had a 570 grammer left in the bag at the end of the day. I think that fish that I lost, we either got one more bite after it or that was the last one, and we did not get a bite for the rest of the day. We went and moved down to an area between the ramp and the first island where I caught fish on day one, and there was fish through there, but it was just dead. We just couldn't get bit. We came back to that area, we let it rest, and we just did not get a touch. So that window had just closed up on us. There was a storm rolling in the distance, like it was 100 k's away, but don't know if it was the barometer, if it was the overall pressure, what was going on, but that bite window just shut on us, and that was it.
And I think what we saw on the sound on the screen was the fish weren't moving. They were just sitting. You can see the images sitting on the same spot. And I said to Bob, it's probably a barometric pressure. It affects them. They don't want to move. They don't want to eat. They don't want to live.
Yeah.
And they just sat there, and we tried everything.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Well, mate, it sounds like it was an interesting comp. I mean, a tough comp, you got a good result, but still.
We worked hard for it. It was a bit of an unusual one, but it sounds like a lot of the other teams either, struggled for numbers, struggled for size. So I think it was consistent across all the teams, but we're just really proud of that we made do with what we had, what was available to us, and we made most of those chances. Whether we do anything different in terms of, we spoke about trying to back the drag off. Do we try and end the fight sooner? Because it was really right at that point where you're ready to kind of lead the fish up to the net, and then it just got its head back down. And, there's a lot of that kind of analysis. But overall, I think, as I said, on day two, on a tough day, to make a move five spots up the leaderboard was just really pleasing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the thing was to fish safe. We fished 3 pound mainly. Yeah. And probably 2 rods. I had 4 pound leader. So it's mainly 3 pound leader. So you can't really push the fish hard. And you can't set the hook properly too on the 3 pound on the plastic. Yeah. That's another thing.
That's it. But I want to ask, how many BioToughs you got left?
Few.
Between him and I,
in that colour,
there's a tackle shop or two to be opened between our two tackle storage locations at home at either house.
Fair enough. Oh well, hey, they're a good lure, and I don't think you'll be seeing them on the market again. So
no, I'm pretty low on it, but I think Dad's stocked up. He's found a few packets over the years.
Yeah, fair enough.
Interestingly enough, driving to Marlo, we were talking about lures and which lures colours are popular there. And we both agreed that Z-Man Grub 2.5 inch in bloodworm is the number one lure.
Yeah.
Didn't have a touch.
Didn't get a fish on it all weekend.
No.
There you go. All right. Well, in any case, look, like I said, you did get a good result. You're coming in third place. What do you guys get to take home?
We got 1350 combined.
1360?
Yeah, 1350, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. All right, then. Last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Obviously, just to Dad. Really enjoy, really enjoy these comps. The father and son aspect of it is fantastic. So, really grateful just to be able to do these with him. For yourself, Andrew, we love doing these, and I think again, as everyone who comes on the show can attest to, we all get a lot out of it. Someone who's done it for so long, I still love listening to them every week. And just pick up on those little 1%ers that definitely help out along the way. And just a big thanks to Bill, the whole Vic Bream crew that help out, and all the other competitors and some of the sponsors personally, Millerods. So Ian, Trav and the team, they've always just been really, really supportive. So big thanks to them, X-Braid Australia, Lawrence. Yeah, there's a number of companies that have supported along the way, but yeah, big thanks to those guys and Steve at Tackle Addiction as well. He's got a fantastic range of products that, and he always does great fast shipping. So big thanks.
Well, the other thing I would like to mention is that 22 rods on one small teeny every day definitely helps.
Fair enough. 22 rods, I wouldn't know which one to choose from.
Yeah, it keeps the rigging
Just
time
one at a
down
time,
during the day,
blow in the water.
but the few to get through in the evening hours after you finish, you get off the water and got to decide what you're going to tie on.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Well, look, congratulations again. Thanks for coming on, and I hope good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.
All right. So coming in second place, we have Team Samurai Rods. Now, they dropped 5 fish on Saturday, weighing 5.135, backing it up on the Sunday with 5 fish for 4.915, giving them a total bag weight of just over 10 kilos at 10.050. And second place, I have Dan Mackrell and Declan Betts. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
How you going, Andrew?
Yep. Here we are again, guys. You're right up the pointy end.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to be here. It means that the tournament's gone pretty well, doesn't it? So, yeah, it's always great to catch up.
It is. It does mean it's gone well. And tell me, we haven't talked a lot of specifics about the comp, but was it an even team event or did someone shine?
I think we had a day each, really. We're pretty even across the board. But
if you want specific, I think I had him Saturday and then on Sunday he took me out. So I think I lost by about 1 fish. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, got to be a team's event anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's just it is interesting though.
Oh, always. So, and we're as competitive against each other more so than anybody else. So
fair enough. All right. Well, let's get into it. Did you guys go up and have a pre-fish? Have a bit of a look around?
Where do you want to start? We actually took off early on the Thursday morning and visited another spot at East Gippsland just to try and, I haven't fished since the last comp, so it was nice to try and go for a bit of a fish. And I think we got to about 11 or 12 o'clock on that part, and Declan went to step on the lecky to move us around somewhere, and bang, the cable on the electric motor just snapped. So we sort of looked at each other and we're thinking, oh yeah, this is far from ideal. Luckily Declan's carried an electric motor in the back of the ute for about 3 years, I reckon, that hasn't seen the light of day or power. So we ventured off to Lake's Entrance, caught up with Paul Conn, and we swapped it over. It wasn't a very simple process, especially for Declan and I, who got about 20 thumbs between us when we're putting stuff together. So we ended up sorting it out. The old lecky was on. Bit of a makeshift live scope setup was tacked back onto it, and off we were to Marlo a bit later than we anticipated. So all good.
Wow.
I'm going to roll that back for you a little bit because this just dawned on me this morning. We actually have to thank a malfunctioning back door on Dan's vehicle for this to have even been possible, because generally speaking, we take his car and my boat to the East Gippsland side, and he said, I can't open the back on my vehicle. Can we take your car? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then I realised we never take the spare electric when we take Dan's car. And it was only possibly that one moment of malfunction in his vehicle that meant that we actually had electric to fish with, which just, dawned on me this morning. So one of those little bits of fate, I guess. And big thanks to Stevie Wheeler for letting me have that old Fortrex quite some time ago, and it really paid off on that weekend.
Absolutely. Big difference, particularly in a system like Marlo, to have an electric or not.
We do have a bit of a running joke, or it's not even a joke actually. Statistically, it probably backs up pretty well, but we do say if we have something malfunction or break, we seem to be able to have a pretty reasonable result after it. So we sort of try and take a positive out of a bad thing. We've done plenty of wheel bearings and been stuck on the side of the road and done all that sort of stuff. So when you go back and have a look, sometimes yeah.
How good's your wheel bearing changing skills?
Nah, that part I'm okay with. I always just carry a spare hub, new bearings. So it's not I've been stuck on the road far too many times to not be up to date with that one.
Or does that mean you're actually no good at it when you fix it?
Nah, it just means that we've done too many Ks on the road.
All right. So did you actually get a chance to have a look around Marlo?
Yeah, we did. We launched. We've got a bit of a milk run we normally do when we get there. And I don't know, we've probably done the same thing year in, year out for a long time now. We sort of start at the launch in the Broddy and sort of fish our way out of there a little bit. Have a look up the Snowy River at Swelf. There's a couple of rock walls we like to look. And we did the first probably hour and a half and had a couple of sort of 31 centimetre fish to talk about. So it was sort of not the calibre of fish you want to find at Marlo. And we got to the junction and, you should see all these massive boils and this bloody bait getting sprayed everywhere. I was like, we'd heard there'd been a few jewies getting caught. Might be jewfish. And then I think, a couple of slow retrieves later, you'd see these giant salmon chasing your lure. I was like, oh, goodness, we're going to be in for some fun here. So we sort of tried to leave those alone. You could see massive schools of salmon across the surface, and they'd go down a couple of metres, and then under them you could see at times there was some pretty reasonable sort of brim marks. So sort of know as a thing you could sort of go back and have a look at those if we needed to. But yeah, it was, I don't know, the interesting part, I think over the weekend, like the amount of salmon, like we did hook and catch a lot, but we never actually caught one when the lure was sinking to the bottom. Like we never sort of cast out and had one that's on the drop. Like we run pretty heavy sort of heads to try and get to the bottom, and you'd think fallen bait fish or whatever else, but yeah, for some reason we did hook it up a lot doing every other technique for the weekend, but not as they were dropping. So
yeah, the most safe retrieve was vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
And then, from there we sort of moved down around the islands and sort of saw a few fish around there, marked some good schools. And I think we ended up heading right down the bottom, sort of sounded around, pulled up, had a double hook up on fish around 900 grams, moved back a bit further, got another one, missed another one. That was just near the boat ramp, and then back towards the first island again, pulled up in an area, and we got one probably about 1.4, 1.5, and another one about 900 grams. So I was like, righto. We fished the open quite a bit down there before. We sort of know some pretty good retrieves and sort of lures and techniques that can get them to bite. And then from there, we sort of went and had a look at a few other things and really didn't find much. Went way up the Snowy. We'd sort of seen a few fish on the snags and that, but they were sort of pretty isolated. Nothing we could sort of really bunker down and the calibre we're after. So I think after pre-fish, it was like, okay.
Edges and didn't catch a thing, basically, if I'll be honest.
Which one? Off the edges. Yeah, they were pretty. And I think when you look at the weekend, obviously even the forecast, you sort of saw that the tides were pretty small for Marlo standards. And, here in water's very, very low. Like it's sort of, I don't know, in our own sort of thoughts, even going up there, it was going to be, potentially a bit of an open water sort of with fish sort of retreating back or holding a bit deeper than they normally would. So
we never even tried to venture into Coringal. We just didn't think there was. We looked at the water level when we started and we thought it was low, and then even when the tide came in, it didn't really come up that much. So we just never even tried to push out in there, which, we don't love it, but we always usually give it a look at some stage, and yeah, we didn't even get there. So
yeah, okay.
We even did a bit more higher stuff up in the Broddy, and yeah, it didn't find anything that really rocked our world other than what we kind of found down the front half. So the decision was pretty much made for us, I feel.
Yeah. And the most important thing is that you've got all these salmon around and no seal to eat them.
Mate, we would have been begging for some seals, I reckon. That would have been nice, just for a bit of a clean-up operation would have been handy. So
yeah, it would have been interesting to see them showering out of the water.
Well, they did that most of the time with people hooked up to them.
Yeah, right.
You would hear somebody's drag singing back to front, and then you'd look up and just see this thing leap out of the water, and you go, that's unfortunate for you. And then you look around and somebody else it was happening to, and you go, oh, what a bugger. And the next minute it's like, and you're like, oh, shit, now it's my turn.
Yeah. Yes, we certainly learned on pre-fish that there's one key thing to not hook as many salmon, and that's, when you're done with your retrieve, burn your lure back as fast as you can. And for the amount of times that you lost concentration over the weekend and actually got slowed down, it was like, yep, righto. You learned a pretty hard lesson pretty quick, because it was always either
it was no good.
It was either a bust, you got a hold of the spool and bust them off, or it was you've got at least 10 minutes of mucking around to sort them out. So
yeah, that's it. All right, let's get into comp day. Tell us about your Saturday. So what did we say? It was Declan's day?
Yeah, it was probably my day, I guess. We started. Well, it's hard at Marlo because you want to start sort of somewhere close to the start line, and there's just a parade of boats going left, right, centre, and you're like, well, where do we stop? So we stopped up near the top of the top of the island, or I suppose it's the bottom of the first island, and just waited for the atomic bomb to stop going off. Pretty much, just nothing happened for the first 10 or 15 minutes, I guess, because just that amount of boats wake, rocking, rolling, trying to stand up, but you have to sort of at least start roughly where you wanted to go. And so we cruised along there and got into it. And I think we probably had, I reckon we had 5 fish and 2 upgrades within about half an hour. I don't think that'd be wrong.
That's a great start.
But not one of them were fish we actually wanted to keep.
No.
That's a terrible start.
Yeah, terrible. Just time wasters, really. That's what I said. Stop mucking around with these things. Like, we hadn't seen that one small on pre-fish down there. We thought, so.
Yeah, and Dan's sort of looking at me. I've put another one in and another one in, and he's like, "What the?" Anyway, so I think we finished. It's a very hard drift to define. Like, there's little changes in depth and bits and pieces through there, but what you're actually throwing at, it's more of I believe that's the right area rather than truly knowing anything. Anyway, we finished that. I think what did we do? We went up. We went back up. Yeah, and I think we got one early on again at the start of roughly where we were. And then as we came back through sort of the middle area where we got the first flurry, I reckon we got two. We got one each, just bang, bang.
Yeah, double hook out, yeah.
And all those three fish were all fish that stayed in the bag. So that kind of, made us feel pretty good. They were still there and calibre-wise. And then it was as if somebody just turned the tap off for the next couple of hours, really. We moseyed around, went looking for a few different things to do. We went further down towards the mouth. And, we were sort of looking at just ways to, because there's a lot of different slopes and grades through there, and we were just trying to cast different angles and, whether you're bringing it back down one side of the slide or whatever, just, looking for a way to produce a bite. And I actually had...
I reckon there's a few moments there. And I think the key part and the hardest part with that is that we're fishing, like, it was pretty well glassed out. There's not much wind. And for Marlo's standards, the flow just wasn't
the lowest,
pushing
slowest flow I've ever seen other than when it's shut, I reckon.
And you could tell, like, the retrieves we were doing were pretty painfully slow at times, just to even try and get some sort of response out of them. So you just knew that the fish weren't switched on, and they weren't going to be. That was normally at Marlo, you can come across the bite windows where it's like you've really got to get into it because you're not like they're just on. They just really get cranky and pretty much eat anything. We didn't have any of those windows. I'd be interested to find out what sort of bite windows and that you thought might have lined up for the weekend because it was pretty lean. There was very, very short ones for us. So.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what the book told me is the minor bite period on the Saturday was 6:30 till 8 o'clock, and then 11 till 1:30, more or less.
Yeah, so pretty spectacular.
It roughly lines up. I mean, what were you got? Was it a plastics bite for you, or you throwing hard bodies, or what were you throwing at?
Mate, it would have been far too expensive to throw hard bodies. Anything with a bib for us was a definite no-no with the salmon well and truly on guard.
Dangerous to roll the plastic across the mud.
Yeah.
Got punished by a salmon.
Couldn't even do that. So it was like, and that's what I mean, like they were pretty much from the surface down to a couple of metres of salmon, fishing in at times like 3 metres of water. I'm sure they could see something slow rolling across the bottom. They just spear tackled into the mud. So, it was, they were certainly aggressive. The brim, not. We really had to sort of let it sit there and wait for them to come across. So,
okay. What sort of weights are you fishing? Were you trying to get through the salmon or trying to?
Yeah, 1/8 was probably the most popular. I think we used a 12th at times, and no doubt Betsy went to the cannonball a few times as well.
Yeah,
so
threw a 6th a couple of times. Like that. I did get bites on it, but it just wasn't as necessary as usual.
Yeah, I don't have the strength anymore to cast and throw a 6. It's too heavy.
Not proper tennis elbow, and I can still do it. Come on.
It surprises me how often you do get fish on a 6, though. Like I didn't fish them for years and years and years. It was always 1/28, one whatever. But yeah,
I think that ultimately also comes down to what your intent is. You know what I mean? Like when it's high flowing current, like they're not really looking for something that's darting up and down or anything stupid. Like they're just looking for a small modicum of movement. So a 6th or even a 1/4 or whatever doesn't affect that. Whereas in a very stagnant environment, like in a lake that's not flowing, moving, you lift a 1/4 up or a 6th up and it's a lot faster fall and everything happens quicker. And I reckon that might knock their interest out a little bit more in comparison, if that makes sense.
Yeah, potentially. So you got your first bag early and then had a bit of a quiet patch and then a couple more towards the end of the sort of session.
That's still probably, when we had that, that's still before 10 o'clock, I reckon. And yeah, we went up to that middle, well, probably closer to the sea. And I'm trying to think whether I caught one and then also might have caught one and then had one that just basically, I was fighting it, and then the hook just fell out of the line.
Was that where, and you broke one or one bit you off?
Yeah. Which I still maintain to this day. It just bit the wrong place and the line broke. So it wasn't tying error, that's for sure. Yeah.
I don't think anyone suggested that.
No, somebody did. Wasn't always Andrew.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a plunder, that bite. That was one of the best bites I had all day too, by the way. Anyway, I think at that point we thought we've got to probably I thought and suggested we look at just to see if there's anything going on that we're missing, you know what I mean? Because one day's pre-fish doesn't necessarily tell you that they mightn't come up on an edge or they mightn't come up on some of the laydowns. So we actually did a little bit of that, in that time, and I think we got it fairly well drilled into our heads that we weren't doing anything wrong because we didn't get a bite. So we're sort of back to plan A and stuck with it. And I think we must have got one more good one, and I can't quite picture where it happened in that.
Yeah, it was just we did that run up past the first, went further up the first island, then we got nearly back all the way to the bottom of the island. We had a nice one.
Oh, you got that one at the top of the run. That's the one. Yeah.
And our estimates are out. They're obviously weighing quite well. The scales we didn't sort of muck around. We didn't have to. The fish were pretty clear, so the upgrading process was pretty easy in the weekend. We sort of thought fish were around 850 average maybe, and truth be told, they were around a kilo, so they're all sort of 35, 36.4, with Declan had a nice one in there. It was probably just over a kilo, which sort of bolstered the bag up as well. So it was, don't know, they're just in good nick, good solid fish. And I think we would have had, what did we say, about 25 legals I think we caught for the day. So
yeah, we actually threw out, but the last fish, I think we went back down the bottom. We got a 33, and I got a 33 and a half forker, and that did do something reasonably useful. But that was probably the bottom of the bag, that fish, from memory. Those fish were what I called them dense, because they weren't obese and they weren't fat and bulging, but they were just weighing heavy. You know what I mean? It's hard to describe, but healthy.
Yeah, I think that we took, at the end of the day, we sort of said there's three or four fish that we've had on that really that absolutely would have gone in the bag. There's a couple of ones that were real, absolute proper Marlo fish, and it's a bit of a day of what could have been, I think, with that one. So,
okay. The other thing I was interested in, because you guys obviously Team Samurai and the new Infinites have been, a bit of talk about those, how they've been performing for you, because you've had them for a while now.
Had a good run with them actually since, well prior to Christmas with the new Infinites. I'm a bit old school and I take a little while to come around to new things and trying things out. So, but honestly, these ones are actually seamless. I've actually picked up a couple of those models and straight away, it's absolutely no dramas there. The sensitivity, the feel, it's absolutely all there. And I've sort of run 7-foot rods for the most of my sort of fishing for what I do. But there's one rod there, the 7.6. I think it's about 2 to 6 pound. I think it's rated to, and it's been nicknamed the Magic Wand. That one, it's an unbelievable little piece of kit. So it's grouse for hard bodies. It's for the plastics. It's absolutely an all rounder. And it's some of the techniques I really like to run where I'm sort of ripping things across the bottom, and it's absolutely perfect. So yeah. Okay,
so basically 2 to 6 pound or 1 to 3 kilo, 7.6 sounds pretty good.
And the absorption, it's just, I wouldn't fish it around structure because you're going to get absolutely taken to the cleaners on it. But the very fast action on it sort of folds away really nicely, and you just don't feel like you're going to lose fish at all. It just absorbs everything. So perfect. And if he's old school, well, and I'm Stone Age school, and I haven't minded adapting to them one bit. So that probably tells you, they've just got, it's the touch and the sensitivity, and people might look at the price point and balk, but I'd actually sort of say that they're one of the better ones I've seen in recent times for what you pay for. And we're fussy, we're finicky. If we don't like it, it's just, we ain't going to use it. So they are definitely very good. Very, very good. All right, let's roll into the Sunday. So before we do that, where were you guys sitting overnight? At the pub. Not the pub. Where were you sitting in the leaderboard? Fourth, I believe. Very good. Very good. All right. Tell us about how Sunday played out for you, because I've been told by the others it was a bit of a different bite potentially. Well, like I said, first day we probably had 25 legals. I reckon day two we probably had 10 10 to 12. It was, halved again. So I'd sat there and copped a bit of a shellacking on the first morning. So I picked up a rod and rigged up with something a different colour on the Sunday morning to see what we could do. And lo and behold, things sort of worked out all right. So
yeah, it was my turn to wonder what the hell was going on.
And again, not much different. We started very, very similar area, sort of started up like shallow on the sloping edge near the first island and hoping there was, in that low light, there might have been a couple of fish just sort of still up there feeding. Not to be. It wasn't until we sort of slid off into that sort of 2 meters of water.
Still salmon up there.
Yeah, there was definitely salmon up shallow. So
How heavy were you fishing?
still running an eighth.
Oh, no. Line class.
4 pound.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to play a salmon.
4 pound. Amazing how much hurt you can put on a salmon on 4 pound. Like it was probably, you pretty much just point your rod at them because you don't want to fully load your rod up. You pretty much just hold your spool, and if they come your way, you're probably winning. If not, they were taking like 50, 60 metres of line at a time, these things it was nuts. Yeah. I have one, we've got.
The best one I had, and Dan will attest to this, was the first thing they tended to do was race towards the electric motor or towards the boat, and then they would come back, and this one come back under the boat. My rod is just like making its own shape alongside the boat, just arcing back underneath. And Dan takes up the story and goes, and then it jumped. And then I just heard the thump as it headbutted my boat on the other side.
Lucky it didn't land on him. Yeah, it was classic. So.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. But actually, I forgot to ask, how did the electric perform?
Oh, it was very good. Very good. Yeah, no further glitches. So it did its job and some. It was great. So.
Oh, that's very good. All right. Once you got through some of the salmon, how'd you go about getting a couple?
Yeah, so no, it was just sliding off, and again, you're seeing them on the sounder. We had the live scope for a running, but to us, it was actually quite hard to read because the biomass of fish, and again, there's a mixture of species. We'd caught mulloway, we'd caught trevally, we'd caught salmon, perch, everything. It was all down there, like the bait as well. Like it's just, it was pretty hard to read up and down. Even with on the live, I actually found it better on the actual sonar, remembering what brim sort of mark up like. So we had some areas you'd get to and you start marking the odd brim. And that was sort of where you sort of try and concentrate. Obviously, there's a lot of boats fishing down in that section as well. So you sort of had to pick your path, and we sort of waited a couple of times just to. There's a little probably basketball-sized section we like to fish that sort of drops down into a bit of a hole and then comes back on either side, and we sort of had to bide our time a few times before we could run through that. And it sort of probably, when you look at it, probably put 4 or 5 of our 10 fish into the well, just in that small little section. So, and again, you sort of wait for someone to hook up in a salmon and they'd hair off on the electric chasing that one. I was like, oh, there's an opening, let's go through there. So it was pretty close quarters fishing to a lot of people a lot of the weekend, and you sort of expect that when you go there sometimes. So it's about taking your opportunities and doing what you do. And we sort of fished really slow. The technique was, sometimes when you fish there, I think last time we fished Marlo, the tides were really going really hard, and I had to cut leaders back and just to try and get some more sensitivity, whereas this time was about slowing down, sort of telling yourself if you think you're going slow, go even slower, and then you might be a chance of getting bit. So I think Betsy probably got bit a few times trying to muck around and light a cigarette or something as well, just on that pause. Like it could be sitting there for 10 seconds at times and just you're on. So it's like, knowing that was the mood of the fish, having fished around so many boats and not seeing too many brim get caught over the 2 days, it was like, they're there, they're there. You just got to slow down and wait for it to happen. So
there was one point where we were probably level with the main jetty, the wharf at Marlo. And if you looked back up to the start of the island, I counted 17 boats. And if you looked the other way, down towards the bottom, there was a bit of a gap. And then down around the yellow buoys, if there wasn't another 10 or 12 there, I'll go heat. That's how condensed it kind of was and how much pressure it was copping.
That's crazy. I mean, that surprises me. Like, as a kayaker, I understand that a little bit more because we just can't get away that quick. But in a boat, you've got the ability to go anywhere, but everyone's still congregated down the front.
Yeah, well, when the biomass of fish was sitting there, and that's what we found, we sort of had to make the best of what we could there. And it was, if you move too fast or, if you retrieve too fast, then you get a salmon. So it sort of automatically slowed you down and sort of helped us on pre-fish. It was more about doing more and more of that, which is, where Betsy and I struggle to go on spot lock, power pole. We really struggle to sort of sit still. So we were able to actually sort of drift through as we do, but just slowly retrieve right down, and we got enough bites. And thankfully on the Sunday, I think the first 3 fish that I got were all around that 800-900 gram mark anyway, so they went straight in. Can't really. It's actually like a week and a half. My memory actually eludes me a little bit, but it wasn't a lot of fish, and I think
I can actually tell you how it went. I do remember this bit that we left pretty much that front area with 2 fish. One was 800 and something, and one was over a kilo. That we go, yep, they're good. We're kind of like, well, we're behind, but we're ahead because the caliber of the ones we want to keep are there. And then we actually rolled back a bit further behind the island, and you caught a 31 tipper and I caught a 30 tipper, and you caught a 31 forker, and
that's when I put the little goat on. I put the Z-Man. That's like 1.7 inches, the little micro goat.
Ah, the little tiny one. Yeah.
I gave it a bit of a run, and it was it caught small fish. It worked, just not the right size. So,
and then about 5-10 minutes after that, I actually hooked probably a 1-1 in a very similar area to where on each day we've got a caliber fish, which doesn't look like anything, but just happened to be one of those. I just called them butt grooves. They were little butt grooves where you expected to get bit, and it kind of happened across the weekend. And then we thought, oh, that's all right. So we kicked out a 30 tipper and thought, okay, now we've got 3 we want to keep. And then we went on the almightiest of salmon runs.
Yeah, that's right. That was bad. That was like 20 minutes in time you'll never get back. It was like every cast, didn't matter where it landed or what it did. That was bad. Yeah.
I cast out a bit shallow, and somebody decided he wasn't quite happy where the boat was positioned. And so he put the electric down on full bore for about 30 seconds. And I've just gone, no. And the next minute, zzz, and I'm just like, oh, it's stitched up big time here. And that was
perfect trolling speed for him by the sound of it. So
different.
Fair enough. I mean, with the sounder, could you see the brim under the salmon or around them?
In areas you could, absolutely. Yeah, the salmon they mark up very distinctly different to a brim as well with their, the dense schools, your side image. It's unmistakable, to be honest. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that probably covers it. To me, plastics bite, dodge the salmon, try to land the fish.
Well, we did roll back down to the front section and past a couple of the guys that we sort of knew, and they said, nah, sucks down here, nothing here. We did go to an area, marked up a couple of fish, and I think second cast got one about 1.1. And I thought, oh, that's good. We'll go and bite off a bit more of that, as in drift, and went about another 400 metres up and did that whole drift again for no more bites. So it was, and that was what it was for the weekend. It was good fishing. It was an absolute grind, but you really had to put your head down to see any results for sure.
Yeah. It's funny. Sometimes when you get those fish, you get that one fish and it's enough to keep you interested, but that's it. There's nothing else happening.
There's no further love than that. Well, I did actually get one at the very end. I got a bite. Actually, I had 2 on the Sunday that could have made a difference because everybody was just closing in on the last hour, and it was just a bit of a bun fight for space, and everybody was very tightly packed. And out of nowhere, I just got this amazing clunk, just sat there fighting it, knowing full well, we could call our shots after a while. It's like Trev, perch, brim, salmon, and so Dan's actually there with the net waiting and, patiently, and it's just about to get to that point where it's in shot and just pulled hooks, and I'm like, okay. And so there was also another curly-whirly incident earlier, which I had forgotten about, which was also a brim. It was weird. Some of the brim bites were like I don't know, I kind of called them like a Sixth Sense double take. Like you get this half-assed little tap, and then you kind of almost struck when you knew the next bit was about to occur. And amazingly, a couple of times they were the better fish. Like it was a weird, but Dan commented on too, so I didn't think I was being completely foolish. But also the salmon kind of bit the same way. So after a while, you're almost scared to set a hook. It was very, very intriguing. But yeah, we had a couple of chances, but in that deep water, like you don't know because the guys who got the big brim, the 183 or whatever it was,
181, yeah.
Yep, we passed them on nearly every drift. You know what I mean? So the point was those caliber fish were swimming there. You just didn't, you would never have known and won't know whether one of those fish you had on was one of those better ones or not. Because to be honest, none of those fish set the world on fire in the way they fought. They just dogged it out pretty well, but they didn't scream off and take, heaps of line or anything. They just fought steadily.
Just fought, did their thing. Fair enough. All right. All in all, like we said, enough to bring you back in third place. What did you guys get? Second place. I've taken a spot off you.
We are the perennial bridesmaids of Marlo, mate. We've come second there quite a few times, Dan.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's 4 to be honest. I think you'll find. We haven't actually won as a team there.
Right. Okay.
We ain't getting hitched in Marlo anytime soon.
Is that right? Well, you never know. You never know. Maybe the end of the year. All right. What do you guys get to take home for second?
$2,000 for that one.
$2,000 neat. Yeah, it's pretty tidy.
Handy. Absolutely. Yep. Very handy.
Very, very good.
Covers a couple of tanks of fuel nowadays, so perfect.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. 2 tanks of fuel and fix a trolling motor. You're good to go.
Yeah, laughing.
Very good. All right. Well, look, last thing then is who would you like to give a shout out to?
I want to give a shout out to Phil Zenti. Phil hasn't fished a lot lately, and then he kindly let me borrow his Lowrance AT2. And so I am learning the mistakes and things to do and not to do with it. And I promise, Phil, I will give it back. But it's been interesting, to say the least. I haven't made dirty scoper level yet, but it's certainly showing us stuff that we weren't used to seeing. And it's an interesting challenge for people like us who've been fishing blind most of the time to work out how to marry the technology with what we know and believe and understand with what we do, I guess. So still plenty more scripts to be written with that one. And yeah, so shout out to Phil, thanks. And yeah, as I said, thanks to Stevie Wheeler. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to compete properly. And obviously, thanks to Dan. I've still got a half-eaten packet of beef jerky in the car that obviously it wasn't real.
Damn.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, I remember that one. That's the chili one. That's the good stuff.
You liked that one. I thought it was a bit chewy, but anyway.
Oh, it took a while to get through. Yeah.
Obviously, the housemates. We had the grandfather and grandson team this time. We had Mike and Cooper Hodges staying with us, and obviously Paul and Alex, and we always have a good time. So anybody I forgot, Dan, you can pick up on.
All right, Dan, what about you, mate? Who would you like to give a shout out to?
Well, Betsy, obviously gets the ball rolling, keeps everything oiled and the machine chipping away. The little red nitro's always up for a Vic Bream or another tournament. So thanks to him for the good company, the banter, the laughs. We stay with a very enjoyable crew over there. The Malovs, Paul and Alex. And obviously we had Cooper and Mike Hodges for this one as well. So yeah, great to catch up with those guys. Thanks to my amazing wife for letting me go away. I was inept and didn't thank her properly in the previous speeches. So, for her to let me go and ply our trade doing this is an amazing thing.
She's listening to that. She's not listening to this.
Nah, that's fine. So, and it is like it's tricky. A couple of young boys. So it's sort of I don't get to do too much social fishing in between nowadays. So to be able to get away and do the Vic Brims is a great sort of release and just a mental thing to be able to get out, clear the mind, and do these things is a really great opportunity. So, Frogleys Offshore have really stuck by us, giving us some amazing equipment to sort of use and sort of keep putting in front of us and challenging us to sort of put it through its paces. And we enjoy that challenge. We both consider ourselves sort of optimizers in our own right. We'd like to tweak and sort of make things better where we can. And, some of the stuff they're bringing out now is just absolutely spot on. So, yeah, very good. Apart from that, that's about it. Look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Very good. Well, look, well done, guys. Not always good to chat. Yeah, good luck in the next round.
Thanks very much, DT.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. Okay, so coming in first place, we have Team Marlo Bait and Tackle. They dropped their 5 fish on the Saturday for 5.490, which included a kicker of a 1.27, and then backed it up on the Sunday with a 5 fish bag for 5.365, giving them a total of 10.855. And the win, I have Brad Young and Harry Young. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's good to be back.
I was going to say, good to be back in first place. It's a cracking win and a convincing win too.
Yeah, and it's our first win as well. So it is rewarding to be back on the show, but also take that first win.
Absolutely. What we did talk about just before, like you won by a good margin. You're 800 above down in Declan, and then another 600 grams to Paul and Alex. So like a pretty good win.
It was a good win. Probably more so the fact that we didn't have fish by about 9:30, 10 o'clock on Sunday, and those demons start to come into your head. We've led before and been in positions to win before, but you know, all those little things that happen along the way, you drop a fish or the fish don't bite. So tripped away, and to get it done, it was a long 45-minute wait to the end of the weigh-in to see that we'd actually done it. So
absolutely. That's when you're you got to kind of hold your nerve and go, we've caught fish before, we've done this, and then just back yourself, I guess, to come through with the fish.
Yeah, I think we spot managed better this time. We learnt the hard way last 2 or 3 comps there.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, let's get into the pre-fishing, getting ready. What did you guys do to get set for this one?
I don't know. What did we do?
Well, Harry's obviously fishes it a lot. I just turn up on the day. But pre-fish wise, we ran around the lake, but there's just not enough water in there or wind. Then we sort of looked up the Snowy.
Wasted time, pretty much.
Wasted time. Went down the front. We had a little bit of a pattern down the front that we knew about, basically fishing under salmon. So we didn't spend too much time, but I think we're off the water by 12.
Yeah, 12 o'clock, I reckon.
Yeah. So it's just a case of just look around and see where you can find one, or even see some on the sounder and note that and move on. Is that how you guys roll?
Yeah, pretty much. We weren't really fussed on catching fish. We just knew what we were going to do no matter what. So we just went and played around pretty much.
Yeah, fair enough.
Looked for a bit of a backup plan, because that's what's burned us in the past, and no backup plan. And we had that sort of dialed in pretty quick.
Yeah. And in general, how do you think Marlo's fishing just in round terms? Is it going okay, or has it been tough for a while, or what's it like?
Been hit and miss lately.
Yeah.
It changes every week.
There are massive schools of salmon in here at the moment that are just ridiculous. I think that plays a part. A lot of people couldn't get through the salmon or past the salmon, so that has a bit of an impact. But a bit of rain probably a month beforehand sort of changed the whole arena. There's a lot of fish right up the river, and they sort of dispersed after the rain came down.
Okay. Let's roll into comp day. So you ended up with the best bag on the Saturday. Tell us what you got up to. How'd you go about putting that bag together?
We had a bit of a plan to fish in the lake early. And to get the lake to fish right, you need 3 or 4 things. I think we've spoken about it last time. It's got to have the wind and the current and a few things, bit of water level. We weren't 100% confident it would work, but we do know in a certain spot that we fish that, Harry's caught a
197.
A 197, and quite regularly catches them over 1.5. So we only need 1 or 2 of those fish to, and then move off somewhere else. Interestingly, we were just talking a minute ago about we never actually pre-fished anywhere that we fished on the 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we fished in our first spot, and then how many did we have? 2?
1.
1. Yeah. And then we made a call to just go somewhere else to another spot. And then we sort of worked away. We had our bag by
10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't big though.
It wasn't big. And then we just slowly upgraded throughout the day a couple of times. We found very small bite windows where you get 1 or 2 bites really quick and then nothing for an hour or so. But the bites we had on the Saturday were very small, like just very small little ticks. You'd quite often miss it and you had to stick it. Like as soon as they touched it, you had to whack them, otherwise they were gone before you felt them.
Yeah, right. What were you using to target? Your plastics or hard bodies, or what was the go-to?
All plastics, just Z-Man grubs, keeping it simple. A few squidgy wrigglers.
Okay. I did ask Alex this when I interviewed him. Have you got many BioToughs left?
No. Probably 3 packets.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough. So basically, plastics bite, and you said a finicky bite. Was that the way it sort of played out all day?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, all of the first day, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and it was, sometimes you weren't sure whether you'd just hit a stick or a log or something in the water.
Mm.
And if your line management wasn't right, you'd miss them so quick. Sometimes you were just second guess as whether even it was a bite or not.
Yeah, I was going to say probably better to hit them rather than miss them. So
Yeah, well, Harry hit one that hard that it came about 3 foot out of the water, and that was the kicker fish, the 1.2 on at about 1 o'clock on the Saturday.
Wow. And okay, so if you're pulling that hard out of the water, what sort of gear are you running?
The rod was a 4 to 6 kilo.
Okay.
And I was fishing 12 pound. So
wow.
Yeah, it wasn't messing around.
12-pound leader as well.
Yeah.
Wow, that surprises me.
Yeah, we do fish very tight to the edge, like ridiculously tight. If it's a foot away, go back and have another go.
Yep.
We do find that it makes where we're fishing makes a huge difference in what we're doing.
Okay. So if you've got 12-pound leader, how much leader are you running? Are you running it through your guides or not?
Yeah, probably rod and a half length.
Yeah. Okay. So not on the reel, but definitely into the guides. Okay. All right. And then in terms of hook weights and what sort of hooks you running?
It's just a standard TT jig head, 1/16, but we rig them weedless, so
okay,
you can really punch them in there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So tight to structure, plastics, and belt them. I think knocking a 1.2 out of the water is pretty good going.
Yeah, we do change, like as the day changes, if the tides drop out, we'll go lighter. And then if it does start to rip, we do go heavier. So we do sometimes we'll run 2, 3, 4 rods, all similar, all same plastics with different jig heads.
Okay. What's your ideal, like if you're trying to pick an ideal day down there, are you looking for strong current or high tide, low tide? What's best for you guys?
Probably run out tide and run as hard as it can go.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
You need the wind to blow in a certain direction for probably a week or two, or not a week or two, but a couple of days to hold water back in certain spots. Okay. And what you'll find that there'll be flow in. I know when you talk to Declan and Dan, they always talk about flow. They're dead right. If you find the flow in certain spots, and there's no pattern to it, some days it works and some days it doesn't. Once you find it, you're on.
Yeah, very good. All right. And in that, what was it, let's say 5.5 kilo bag, did you drop any? Did you drop anything decent?
We dropped a few fish that we never really seen the size of them, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, pull the back of the plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We towards the end of the day, we came back down the front. We sort of had that bag by 12:30.
Yeah, we're down the front by 12:30. So.
Yeah, and then, I don't know, a little bit old school, but everyone that was fishing the front was drifting with the current.
Yeah.
We just simply turned around, went the other way and fished under the schools of salmon.
Yep.
Yeah, a bit of a different technique. And we probably put 5, 6, 7 fish in the boat. Literally as everyone was going past us, we're going the other way, just slowly against it. And we had no problems. We would have probably had 4.5, maybe 4.8 down the front by itself.
Okay. Wow. So decent. So if you're trying to fish under the salmon, are you weighting up a little bit heavier to get through them?
Yeah, we went to a 1/4 ounce.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good. That's what I would have thought. And just one more question on how you rig it. You're rigging them weedless. You're sort of going in the front and out the bottom.
Yeah, and then back in the top.
Turning it around and just having the hook flush or just under.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And smothered in S factor, like particularly on the Saturday when they were picky. That was, I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but we believe it does. So every 4 or 5 casts, more S factor.
More S factor. Okay. With the salmon, were you able to, if you got a bite in the top of the water column, were you trying to just let it go, see if they'd spit it out?
Actually, we didn't.
I think we only got 1 salmon for the whole comp, pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
Because where we've seen other teams literally moving away from the salmon, we chased them. We went to them, didn't necessarily cast in the middle, just either side of them. He got one, I didn't, but yeah, we got through them, no problems at all.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, very cool. All right. Look, 5.490, pretty decent bag, obviously in first place. What was the plan for Sunday?
Not to choke.
Don't do it again?
Yeah, the plan for Sunday was just pretty much go and do it again. We spot managed. We thought we'd been burnt in the same spot last year in the comp in Marlo. We went there and it didn't produce on the second day. So we felt we'd left enough fish there, and it was literally just, let's just go and make a game of it. That was our motto for the day. Yeah, go and see it'll be what it'll be and just go for it.
Okay. Well, we did have a bit of a discussion before. So tell us how that worked out for you in the first couple of hours.
Yeah, it was donuts until about 11 o'clock. So
It's about 10.
Yeah.
About 10, yeah. We had first spot didn't produce.
Yeah, we had 2 small ones.
Yeah, and then we did find out later on, or maybe the Saturday night, that there'd been some teams follow us in, and we think they probably spooked at those fish. So, yeah, we went in, kept working, went to our second spot at about 10, the 2 small ones.
We had 2 small ones and nothing until got a good one at 11.
I got the first one, good one at 11.
Yeah.
And then basically I went to the back of the boat and Harry went to work.
Right, okay. So one catching, one culling, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we worked one side and then we would sort of, again, hard up against the edge, lots of structure, and then every now and then flick a cast over to the other side. And same as the day before, we found small bite windows. You get 1 or 2, 3 bites really quick and then nothing. But the Sunday bite was, they wanted it. If you put it near them, they belted it.
Okay.
There's no hesitation at all. But I think we slowly upgraded. Yeah, so by about lunchtime, we had about 4.5.
Yeah.
And then at about 12, I pulled one really good fish off that log.
Yeah.
And then Harry just kept, I stayed at the back pretty much, and he just kept tiny upgrades. And, we probably boated 10 fish.
Yeah, probably 10 for the day.
10 for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One of the interesting things, I was looking at the bite periods while you were talking then. The bite, and I know these sometimes they line up, sometimes they don't. But on the Sunday, your major bite period was 10 to 12 to 2:20, which sounds pretty right.
Yeah, it would have been. The only thing is that where we're fishing, the tides don't line up.
Sure.
So if the wind blows, it can run out all day. There's no run-in flow, dependent upon a couple of things. So sometimes those bite windows don't line up. But in that case, it probably was. Sunday was about those demons come into your head when you've lost comps before, and just had to keep doing what we're doing. We had to have the faith a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's competition fishing, especially when you've done well or close to the top. And then, not getting a fish for a couple of hours kind of hurts your brain.
Yeah. We obviously use the live scope. So we've got the Eagle on Harry's boat, and we've just purchased the new XL live target too. But it does make a difference. We were able to see some of the schools of fish, and then occasionally see some of the bigger fish hard up against the edge. So I think we just knew, just keep working, just keep the head down and keep working.
Keep plugging away. Absolutely. Well, there you go. All right. So basically, it sounds like you got most of your fish right in the back end of the session. Are they all pretty much a kilo fish? Is that pretty much run of the mill?
Yeah, all kilo fish. They're maybe 1.1s. We didn't really have a kicker on Sunday.
They're all
pretty much the same. When that last kilo fish came in, they got rid of that 30 centimetre one. We did look at each other and go, oh, well, we've made a game of it. Let's just see what happens now.
Yeah, that's right. And was it basically plastics the whole weekend? Is that how that worked?
Yep, one on a hard body, but that was it. They're mainly plackies, yeah. Yeah, the bite difference between the Saturday and the Sunday was completely different. I think the Saturday was what set us up for the win. Being able to stick those fish with those tiny little bites was hard work.
Yeah, right. And okay, so what was like? I don't know what the weather was like down there. Was it much different from Saturday to Sunday?
Pretty much the same.
Yeah, maybe a bit more cloud.
Yeah,
maybe that was a difference. But I think it was running out more on the Sunday. It was more of a run out flow. So whether that water movement actually turned them around a bit.
Yeah, potentially. Well, very good. All right. Well, look, sounds like you had a pretty good day at the end of the day. You come back with a big win. What did you guys get to take home for first place?
3,400.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And first place honours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that little blue trophy that we all chase, I think.
100%. All right. Well, look, last thing before we shoot off, tell us about Marlo Bait and Tackle. What's going on down there?
Yeah, Joe and the team, they do probably one of those last unique tackle stores that has a range of stuff and willing to chase if you want something. If you need a bent minnow or you're chasing dunks or, anything like that, he'll go looking for it, ring around and find it. He's got some pretty good connections.
Yeah.
They've looked after us for a number of years now. They do have a second team. We do call them Team 2. Bit of an in-house joke, that one. But, yeah, they look after us, have done for a long time, even the previous owners. So it's good to be able to reward them a bit. I know a lot of the Havey guys and the Vic Bream guys call in there and just see what's on the wall.
Absolutely. Do you know if they do mail-outs?
I reckon if you rang him, he probably would. Yep.
Yeah, I was just thinking for anyone that's coming down, give them a call and try and sort something out or even arrange a pickup. So
got a pretty good range.
Yeah, and I think you can get coffee there too, can't you?
Yeah, coffee, cake, sandwiches, all that sort of stuff.
I've always thought that was the perfect combination for a tackle shop. Coffee, something to eat, plenty of lures. Can't get better than that.
Perfect combination to get you caught for a few hours while you stand there talk fishing.
Exactly. Or even like I think I said to you before we started, I jumped in there on the way out of there. So on the way home, just before you do a 5-hour drive, it's good to get a coffee. So
yeah.
Very good. All right. Is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to?
No, just Joe.
Yeah, personally, just my wife. We have a unique family requirement, so we have some people that have to come in and help. So to those people that come, it was great. Yeah.
Very good. All right, guys. Well, look, congratulations on your first win and a cracking win at that. And, yeah, good luck for the rest of the season.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that's it. Team Marlo Bait and Tackle, team number 1, they came through as the winners. Like I said, and spoke to them with a pretty comprehensive win in the end, 800-gram deficit there. So, yeah, pretty good win. Backed up by Dan and Declan, and then Alex and Paul in third place. All right. I hope you enjoyed this one. Always fun to talk to the guys from Victoria. And I'll talk to you next week on the Bream Fishing Project. Thanks for listening in.
Thanks for listening to the Lure Fishing Project. For extra episodes, the Big Bream series and more, join us at the Lure Fishing Project Collective. We'll catch you next time.